Let's go to Mozambique for you now on the programme, where a months-long Islamist insurgency in the north of the country has killed thousands of people. A new report published today is shining a light on the human crisis there. It's been authored by the NGO Save the Children, and it says that children as young as 11 years old are being beheaded by militants in the region. Well, we're joined now on the line from Mozambique by the country director of Save the Children there, Chance Briggs. Thanks very much for coming on the programme. First of all, some really shocking stories your team has documented in that report. Tell us a bit more about what is happening in this part of northern Mozambique.
Sure, thank you. Well, first you need to understand that Mozambique is a desperately poor country. It's the 8th poorest country in the world, and it's not an easy place to be a child anywhere in the country. And Cabo Delgado province in the northeast of the country is the poorest province of them all. It borders Tanzania and it's on the Indian Ocean. And for the past 3.5 years, there has been a rapidly increasing insurgency in that province, and just in one part of the province. But it's led to hundreds of thousands of people being pushed out of their homes, being attacked, having their houses burned, having their fields taken from them, and fleeing for their lives with just their clothing on their backs. And half the population in this country are children. And so we have 670,000 people out of 2 million in Cabo Delgado who have been displaced, and half of those are children. What we are learning is that we've known all along there's been tremendous violence, but we're now seeing more and more incidents of violence against children. There have been reports of children, as you said, as young as 11, being beheaded or otherwise being killed by insurgent groups. We don't know exactly who they are. We don't know exactly what they want, but they are brutal. They instill fear, and it's just one more thing that makes life difficult for a child in this very poor country.
Yeah, and as you said, you're not precisely sure which groups are carrying out this attacks, why it is they're targeting children in this way. But I wonder, given the clear dangers in this part of Mozambique, was it difficult for your staff to compile this report? How were you able to get hold of this research?
Our staff has been talking to people who have fled the conflict zone. It's only 20% of the landmass of Cabo Delgado where there's conflict, and the rest of the province is fairly safe. And so this 1/3 of the population has fled to safer areas where they are housed with remote family members, cousins, etc., housed in extended families with up to 50 people in one household, or they're in makeshift camps, or they're in government organized camps. And so we've been able to speak to children and their families in these different zones of displacement, where they tell us some of the horrors that they had to live through as they escaped for their lives.
But this is not a story that's been in the news very much. What help does Mozambique need from the international community now?
First and foremost, as I said, we have almost 700,000 people who have left their homes. We urgently need humanitarian assistance to be given to them, and that means money. There's a tremendous need to provide water, potable drinking water, sanitation, houses, or at least tents for people to sleep in. There's a real need for food because people have lost their livelihoods. They're farmers and they're fishermen, and they've lost their boats and they've lost their fields. There's also a tremendous need for schooling. These children have a right to go to school, and yet there aren't enough classrooms for them. And we have to look at the protection needs, because these children have gone through a lot. And so Save the Children and our partners are providing psychosocial services for children. We're trying to provide safe places for them to play. And in some cases, we're also reuniting children who've been separated from their families, because children, as they run through the forest to escape the attacks, they get separated from their families, and they're sometimes alone for days or weeks until they find their way to a town. And we've had children separated for 3, 4, 5 months before we're finally able, through a painstaking process, to be able to trace their families and reunite them. And that is something of great, great joy when a mother can see her son, who she thought was perhaps dead, who's been alive this whole time, looking for her, and to bring the family back together.
Chance Briggs from Save the Children Mozambique, I want to thank you very much indeed for coming on to talk to us a bit about the situation in the country.